There are some Nintendo Switch games I finish, enjoy, and move on from. Then there are the special ones, the games that stay in my head for years and make me want to come back just to feel that magic again. That is what this list is all about. These are 7 legendary single-player Nintendo Switch games that I really think are worth replaying in 2026. And this is not just about nostalgia. A great replay gives you something new. Maybe you notice better world design, stronger writing, smarter level layouts, or little details you missed the first time. Some of these games feel fresh because of how timeless they are, and others hit even harder when you already know what is coming. If you have been building up a backlog and wondering what deserves another full run, I would start right here. These are the kind of games that remind me why I love playing on Switch in the first place. So let's get into it. Breath of the Wild is still one of the easiest games for me to recommend replaying in 2026 because no 2 playthroughs ever feel exactly the same. Even if you already know the map, the beauty of this game is that it keeps rewarding curiosity. I can head toward one objective, spot something strange in the distance, and suddenly get distracted for the next hour in the best way possible. That freedom still feels special. What makes a replay so good is how natural everything feels. Climbing, gliding, cooking, experimenting with the physics system, and finding shrines all come together in a way that makes the journey more memorable than the destination. On a second or third run, I actually appreciate the world design even more because I notice how cleverly Hyrule pulls me toward discovery without constantly shouting at me. It is also one of those rare games where quiet moments matter just as much as the big ones. Watching the sun rise from a cliff, hearing the music fade in softly, or surviving a storm with half your hearts left still feels amazing. Breath of the Wild is not just a legendary Switch game, it is one of the best replayable adventures Nintendo has ever made. Super Mario Odyssey is pure happiness in video game form, and that is a big reason why I think it deserves a replay in 2026. The first time through, it is all about surprise. Every kingdom throws a new idea at you, and the game barely gives you time to settle before showing off another one. On a replay, that creativity hits in a different way because you start appreciating just how packed every area is with smart platforming and hidden secrets. What I love most is how smooth everything feels. Mario controls so well that just moving around is fun by itself. Long jumps, wall jumps, dives, cap throws, and all the little tricks come together beautifully once you know the game better. Replaying it makes you want to experiment more, and it feels great going back through kingdoms with more confidence and spotting moons you completely missed the first time. Cappy is still one of the best mechanics Nintendo has introduced in years. Capturing enemies and objects keeps the game fresh from beginning to end, and it gives every kingdom its own personality. Then you add the music, the charm, and the non-stop energy, and you get a game that feels just as joyful on replay. Super Mario Odyssey is the kind of game that instantly puts me in a good mood. Metroid Dread is one of those games that gets even better when you replay it, because the first run is mostly about survival, while the second run is about mastery. The first time I played it, I was focused on staying alive, figuring out the map, and dealing with the constant pressure from the EMMI robots. On replay, I got to enjoy how brilliantly everything is stitched together. The pacing is so tight, and the movement feels incredible once you really understand it. Samus has never felt this fast, sharp, and satisfying to control. Sliding under gaps, parrying enemies, wall jumping through rooms, and blasting through areas that used to scare you is such a good feeling. That is why Dread is so replayable to me. It turns you from cautious explorer into confident speedrunner without needing to change what makes the game great. The boss fights are another huge reason to come back. They are intense, demanding, and very fair once you learn their patterns. On a replay, you stop reacting and start dominating, and that makes every fight feel even better. The atmosphere is also excellent, with each area feeling hostile and mysterious in classic Metroid fashion. Metroid Dread is one of the strongest single-player experiences on Switch, and replaying it only makes that more obvious. Hades is a game I can replay at almost any time and instantly get pulled back in. That is part of what makes it so legendary on Switch. Even after dozens of runs, it still feels fast, stylish, and exciting. A lot of roguelikes are fun for a while, but Hades has that extra layer that keeps me invested, and that is how well it blends great combat with characters and story progression that actually make every run feel meaningful. The action is just so satisfying. Whether I am using the Stygian Blade, the Shield of Chaos, or the Twin Fists, every weapon feels different enough to change my whole approach. Then you throw in boons from the gods, and suddenly one run can feel completely different from the last. That unpredictability is a huge reason why replaying Hades never gets old. But honestly, the writing is what pushes it to another level. I love going back and hearing new conversations, checking in with the House of Hades, and seeing how the characters react to my progress. Zagreus is a great lead, and the cast around him gives the whole game so much personality. Hades is not just a great replay on Switch in 2026, it is still one of the best designed single-player games in the system. Full stop. Hollow Knight is one of those games that sticks with me because it feels huge, lonely, beautiful, and mysterious all at once. Replaying it in 2026 just makes sense to me because this world is so rich that there is almost no chance you caught everything the first time. Hallownest is packed with hidden paths, secret bosses, optional upgrades, and tiny story details that are easy to miss unless you really slow down and take it all in. What makes the replay so rewarding is how much stronger your own understanding becomes. The first time, I spent a lot of time lost, unsure where to go next, and honestly, that was part of the charm. On replay, I can feel the map opening up in a more intentional way. I know when I want to chase upgrades, when I want to push a new area, and when I want to test myself against a brutal boss. The combat is also fantastic. It feels simple at first, but there is a lot of depth in how you move, heal, and build your charm setup. Boss fights that once felt impossible become some of the most satisfying wins on the whole system. Hollow Knight is not just a replayable game. It is the kind of adventure that feels richer every single time you return to it. The Witcher 3 on Switch is one of those games that still impresses me because just having this massive adventure on a handheld system feels kind of unreal. And if you are thinking about replaying a big single-player game in 2026, this one absolutely deserves a spot near the top. The Complete Edition gives you the full package, and that means you are not just revisiting a great RPG. You are diving back into one of the most content-rich fantasy worlds ever made. What makes replaying it so worth it is the writing. I already know a lot of the big story beats, but the side quests, character moments, and tough choices still pull me right back in. This is one of those rare games where even smaller quest lines feel important. I can wander into a random village, pick up a contract, and end up in a story that is more memorable than main quests in other games. Geralt is also just a great character to spend time with again. The combat, signs, alchemy, and gear progression give you plenty to dig into, especially if you try a different build or make different choices. Add in Hearts of Stone and Blood and Wine, and this replay turns into a full-blown event. The Witcher 3 is a legendary RPG, and on Switch it still feels like a miracle. NieR Automata is one of the most unforgettable games I have played on Switch, and replaying it in 2026 feels like the right move because this game hits differently when you already know it is doing something special. The first time through, it grabs you with stylish combat, a strange world, and a lot of questions. The second time, and honestly every time after that, you start noticing how carefully everything is built, from the music to the structure to the emotional payoff. What I love about replaying it is that the game is never just one thing. It shifts between action, shooting, exploration, and even tone in ways that should not work together but somehow do. Combat feels smooth and satisfying, especially with how fast 2B and 9S move, but the real reason I come back is the atmosphere. There is this mix of sadness, beauty, and mystery that the game never loses. The soundtrack is a huge part of that. Even hearing certain songs again is enough to pull me right back into its world. And once you know the bigger themes, the dialogue and story moments land harder because you understand what the game is really trying to say. NieR. Automata is bold, emotional, and weird in the best way. It is absolutely one of the most legendary single-player replays on Switch. So yeah, if you were looking for 7 legendary single-player Nintendo Switch games to replay in 2026, these are the ones I would personally put right at the top. They are not just great games. They are the kind of games that remind me why replaying something can be just as exciting as starting something new. Some of them give you freedom, some test your skill, and some hit you emotionally in a way that sticks with you for years. But all 7 have that rare quality where going back feels worth it. Not because there is nothing else to play, but because they are genuinely that good. Let me know which one you would replay first and which Switch single-player game you think belongs on a list like this.